Hello everyone and welcome to the Secret Black People meeting. Yes, we do have those. I'm Niles Abston, your host, and week to week we're going to bring on the best black comedians on the LA comedy scene to come talk about issues and the real black plight of the community without having to worry about what the man thinks.
I ain't gon' tell, I ain't gon' tell, I ain't gon' tell. Keep it on the low, keep it on the low. I ain't gon' tell, I ain't gon' tell, I ain't gon' tell. Just keep it on the low.
Be praying for Houston. Carmelo Anthony thinks he's probably going to get traded there by next week. The Rockets, they really want him. I don't get it. Hasn't the city been through enough? Think about it. James Harden and Melo playing defense in the same court at the same time. If you thought the city of Houston couldn't handle floods before, wait till Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors come to town.
SSU.com shit, yeah. And it came back 30% African, which is, kind of around what we were expecting.
That's more, hey, you got the melon though. So here's the thing, I'm cool with Caesar because when the cops pull up, he's in the same boat as us. So I don't, 30%, 100%, I don't care. Cardi B was able, from her newfound fame from Bodak Yellow, to send planes full of resources and supplies to Puerto Rico to help the victims. And I know other countries and people around the world are so confused, like, how is this former stripper doing more for the people of Puerto Rico than the current president? But think, guys, when haven't strippers rose to the occasion when somebody made it right?
My dad used to always try to connect with the young people.
Oh no, he's like,
Always try to connect with the young people.
No.
This nigga took the dude's song and put it in his sermon.
No.
This nigga was like, you know we're from the gutter. I was raised on peanut butter, noodles and noodles for dinner. We ain't have a lot of gutter, peanut butter. We had all the noodles, orange pack, red pack, pink pack.
Let's treat guns like cars, have proper training, we need all of that, and we really don't.
I think guns should be treated like AIDS. Like we're trying to get rid of it. I want
Yes. Sound like the episode right there. Huffington Post reported that Harvey Weinstein trapped a TV journalist in a restaurant hall, masturbated in front of her until he died. You may be disgusted. Not me. This isn't the first time I've seen the Weinstein case. Friday the 13th. I had a white friend text me this morning. He said, Niles, what are you going to do for Friday the 13th? Such a special and scary night. I said, not a damn thing, bro. I'm black. Every night in this country is scary. I'm moving on to sports. How about them Cowboys, right? Dallas Cowboys massive owner Jerry Jones publicly stated that his players, if they are caught on the knee in the national anthem, they're automatically benched. So, Jerry, that makes me think, what benches can you going to be on this weekend?
But this is the most black friends I've ever had in my life.
Aww, I'm glad to be one of them.
You are!
Hello everybody, welcome back to Secret Black People Meeting. I'm your host, Niles Abston. First, I have to give a huge congratulations to my Los Angeles Dodgers, who have made it to the World Series for the first time since 1988. They're playing the Astros. I'm going to Game 1 with my dad. I'm super excited. But first, I want to give a tip. Dodgers fans, I don't want you getting stabbed in these streets over the World Series, all right? If you see a Dodgers fan that also has a face tattoo, he might not be a fan. He might just wear blue on the regular, if you know what I mean. Moving on to world news. In Austria, they have banned wearing the burqa. So this led to a man getting arrested for wearing a shark costume because of his headwear. Now, I'm totally against Islamophobia and the burqa ban, but I'm not against this guy getting arrested for awful cosplay. Because if you look at this, I don't think Bruce the Shark from Finding Nemo changed his diet to get disrespected like that. See what I'm saying? But banning certain articles of clothing in America might not be a bad idea. Let's start with yoga pants. Because in my opinion, culturally appropriating a nice ass should be a felony at the least. Quentin Tarantino's been in the news. He said he's open to directing a Star Trek film. But he has to wait because he has to figure out how to work the N-word into the clean yan language. Tarantino also was in the news because he had to apologize because he said he knew enough about Weinstein to do something about what he was doing, but he didn't. And it's crazy because Quentin Tarantino has made a huge career off of making incredible films about female characters getting revenge and getting back at their male creeps. And the one time that he can actually do something about it in real life, he wets the bed like a Michael Bay film. The Mexican conservatives started a neo-Nazi group. Yes, you heard me, a neo-Nazi group in Mexico. They created this group because they wanted to protect traditional families, protect the Catholic Christian religion, and also relive the Nazi heritage, which is just a great way of saying we really hate gay people. The Mexican neo-Nazis, they recently celebrated Adolf Hitler's 125th birthday. I don't really get it because if they read Mein Kampf just a little bit, they'd know that Adolf Hitler would hate their brown asses. He'd probably put you guys in the oven and then make burritos afterwards. Extra guacamole. The Niger issue has just gotten blown out of proportion. It's gotten even bigger. I'm sure you've heard that President Trump made contact with a soldier's widow and basically told her, your husband knew what he was signing up for. And it's interesting because I don't think any of Donald Trump's wives knew what they were signing up for. Specifically, Melania Trump. Because that ain't her, y'all. Free Melania, find Melania. I don't know. She's missing because that ain't her. That is a body double. And Donald, I know you're probably looking for her, so I'll give you a tip. She's probably in one of the two places you never look. Either a constitutional library or a black neighborhood. But hey, give Trump a break. This is probably the weirdest time he's had ordering a third woman to be a part of the equation. Because they've never had to look alike. And this Melania Trump, I feel, is a little inferior to the actual Melania Trump. So that would make her the Eric Trump of Melania Trumps. George Bush came out of hiding to condemn white supremacy like the good man that he is. He didn't name drop Donald Trump, but he definitely subtweeted him just a little bit. And now people are using Trump as a way to whitewash the horrible history that is George W. Bush. And we can't do that. We can't forget because in America this happens all the time. When we get a terrible white male leader, it makes us forget about the terrible ones that came before him that set precedents. And these were also bad voting decisions by the white voting community. We can take it back to Lyndon Johnson, openly racist. He signs the Civil Rights Act and then afterwards says, I'll have niggers voting Democrat for 200 years. And he was right. Richard Nixon, he calls Jews weed-smoking commie bastards. And if you've met my co-creator, Eric Abbenante, he might be right too. Then Nixon says that blacks are just Negroes that want to live off welfare like dogs. I think he should just let me live my life. President Ronald Reagan, the great white hope, with his Reaganomics, or AKA trapping and selling drugs out the White House like El Chapo, he put more minorities in prison until your favorite president, Bill Clinton, with the 96 crime bill that put so many black and brown people in prison. Yeah, liberals, we got something for you too. You messed up. And this brings us all the way to 2000 to 2008. George W. Bush, the golden boy. George, he attacks white supremacy in the speech, but he acts like his policies didn't uphold white supremacy. George W. Bush's Patriot Act took more rights from Americans than a Donald Trump tweet ever has. Donald Trump's response to Puerto Rico killed hundreds. George W. Bush's response to Hurricane Katrina killed thousands while he was on a vacation at a ranch. And it's just like, blacks literally died while George W. Bush was on vacation at a ranch, sitting in a rocking chair, sipping tea. Remind you of something? The Islamophobia of Donald Trump, it's nothing new. It was started by George W. Bush's administration, basically turning airport TSA into a you're too dark to ride this ride game, or natural selection. And don't even get me started about the economic pitfalls of George W. Bush's presidency. His last 6 months in office, we were losing 600,000 jobs a month. That's awful. That's terrible. And so I get it. Donald Trump is loud. He says racist things. He's orange. He's had a great rookie season as a terrible president. But don't you dare forget about the MVP, the GOAT of awful presidencies, George W. Bush. Never forget. This is Secret Black People Meeting. I'm your host, Niles Abston. We'll be right back with your guest, Arthur Hamilton.
Water. Land's no peace, disease, still water. Want you to die, that's crazy, still water. Air still free, so we still water. LA made me baby, still water. Still water. LA made me baby, still water.
There's goddamn hair in there. What?
Still water. Put your hands up, then pour all that in my cup. Sorry, I can't buy none, but I'm drinking till my time's up.
Back, what you just saw was a special promo for my homie Arthur Hamilton's new show on Channel 310. It's our third show on the network. I'm super excited about it. It's hilarious. This dude's gonna be a star, y'all. Y'all better get on the bandwagon now.
Hop on.
Go watch. What's the show called? Tell everybody what it's
It's
called.
called Blunts and Brunch, you guys.
Okay, what kind of happens on
So what happens on there, man? You know, I sit down with a special guest of my choosing. We have brunch, and I roll up a couple blunts. You know, we smoke.
That sounds like a good day.
Even if they don't smoke, hey, I'm still gonna smoke.
That's great.
So yeah, we sit down, we have brunch and some blunts, and I'll go over a couple segments.
Okay.
You know, also I incorporate my Instagram stories in there.
Right.
And then also I get to know my guests a little bit.
Yeah, y'all need to follow this guy on Instagram. We're gonna drop his @ right there. Follow this dude because he has the most lit Instagram stories on the planet. Like you guys, he will have you laugh. You know how like a lot of people have like a bunch of stories. You're just like, why you got all these damn stories? No, watch every single one of his because you will be laughing the entire time. I'm on there sometimes.
Yeah.
And so like he incorporates his Instagram stories with the TV show. So like he has so much good stuff on his phone that he can make a whole intro video and segments out of these IG stories. I don't understand it. Cause like so basically you just kind of like you see something you record.
Yeah, I just record it. Most of the time when I'm already recording, something happens.
And something just happens.
Something happens.
That's dope.
Like I thought, my commentary is always, up to par. So
some of y'all's lives are too boring to be having your phone.
Yeah, y'all be fronting for the gram. I keep sitting.
Right. Arthur keep his phone out like it's a police outside or something like that.
Sir, what you doing? Oh,
Black Lives Matter.
You thought nobody was gonna see your ass, huh? Caught your ass, nigga.
Yeah,
don't play that shit.
And so you are from Pacoima, right?
Pacoima, yes.
Okay.
Pacoima.
Where is that?
So Pacoima, you know where Rodney King got his ass whooped at?
What?
Yes, I'm like right down the street from there.
Oh.
Pacoima, right down the street from that tragedy.
That's cool. So he's kind of by where Rodney King got whooped. Why can't we all just get along?
Why can't we all?
Man, that's crazy. So like, what year did that happen? Were you alive?
That was 92.
You weren't alive yet.
Yeah, I was 2 years old.
Oh, you were 2?
Yeah,
okay.
I was running shit on the block, but I don't really be true.
Man, and they got it on tape.
Got it on tape, man. Got that shit on tape.
Pacoima's in the valley, right?
Yeah, it's in the valley.
Okay,
North
cool.
part of the valley.
That's dope. Nice.
It's definitely a place. You gotta be careful.
You gotta be careful out there, huh?
Gotta be careful.
Yeah.
It looks nice, blue skies and shit, but it's red on the ground.
Okay. And so, how long have you been doing comedy?
Been doing comedy 3, going on 4 years.
That's awesome. And then, you didn't start in LA.
No,
right?
I started in Arizona. I don't know why I moved there. It's hot as fuck.
Dude, it's hot and racist in Arizona.
Hell, man, actually had one racist little incident out there.
That's good.
Dude was driving away though. He's lucky I had an old ass car.
You couldn't catch up with him.
Chase that nigga. But yeah, so I started doing comedy out there, man. I had a couple friends who went to comedy school.
Okay.
And I was just thinking to myself, like, they ain't even that funny.
Dang, bro.
So,
they're not watching. That's
so what, man? I keep it real. I keep it real. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so I had always been watching comedy, and I've always been funny too.
Yeah,
so
that's usually how it always works. Like I was the one making my friends laugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the time. So I was just like, man, let me try this out. So I started doing research. I was gonna do it. Then everything was just falling into place because I went to help out at another location for my job, and this girl was like, telling me about this place that did comedy. They got good food, so I went to check it out. And the guy who was DJing, who produced the show, was one of my customers from like 2 years before.
Oh, that's dope.
So it made me more comfortable. So I was just like, oh shit, like, you know what I'm saying, this the homie, let me try this out, man.
Yeah.
I went and tried it. And plus, like, the comments were like, don't pay for comedy school, just try
do it. Yeah, that's what I
it.
tell people, just do it.
Yeah, just jump in and do it. So I wrote my set, went and did it, boom, man, that shit.
That's awesome.
Shit went so good, and man, it's just taking off.
It's gone off.
Yeah.
And I'm going to Arizona with Arthur next month. Doing a little comedy tour out there. We're gonna do a couple shows. My first on the road comedy, so I'm excited, man. Get out of LA.
They're gonna love it. They're gonna love it.
Yeah.
You
so Arizona people, y'all be ready to laugh. You about to bring it, man.
I'm bringing that California sunshine,
right,
baby.
It's gonna be fun. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
It's gonna be real fun, man. It's gonna be lots of fun, man. Be ready for the snow at ASC.
The snow.
Yeah.
He is not talking about precipitation. He is talking about white women. Well, which I'm not necessarily sold on. I've seen Get Out like 8 times.
I mean, so I've been with a few white girls and
because you ain't watched Get Out.
I have almost lived it, almost. Okay.
That might be worse.
Yeah, it's fucking scary. I went to this one white girl's house, man, high as fuck, and I was like, they about to steal me.
They about to steal.
Let's go.
Get out of here, bro.
I'm telling you, man.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, man.
So tell our viewers what is this stuff?
Oh, this right here, baby. This is right here. This is Can-Aid
This right here, nigga?
syrup. This right here, Nick, right here.
Shout out to Cat Williams.
Shout out to Cat Williams, man. Hilarious as fuck. This right here is Can-Aid Medical Mixer. Is a syrup. So what it is has THC in it.
Oh,
this
okay.
Is 60
That's
milligrams.
the stuff in weed.
That's the stuff in weed. The healing component.
Right. The
Okay.
healing herb.
Yeah, I don't know the actual term for it.
Cannabis.
I forgot. Whatever. Yeah, cannabis. Something TH something. Yeah, the healing component. But yeah, so it's a medical mixer. So what you can do is put it in your drinks. You can put it on fruit salad.
Okay.
You drink it straight up.
Yeah.
It's fucking delicious.
That's awesome. And so we have orange juice here because we're gonna make what Arthur called is marijuana mimosas. Because you can't actually drink a real mimosa, right?
Yeah, no, I can't drink a real mimosa because I just got a breathalyzer in my car like a couple weeks ago. Fuck you now. Stop fucking judging me, man.
The nigga be in his car like, and then it starts.
People be looking at me and shit. I'm like, what the fuck you looking at? It was 3 years ago. Shit, your grandma's a drunk. You know what this is.
Right. Everybody got a drunk in their family.
Hell yeah, man.
But
So yeah.
let's make a little Mary Jane mimosa, and when we come back, who knows what it has done to us yet? But we're gonna come back and we're gonna actually talk about marijuana, criminalization, and mass incarceration with our political correspondent Eric Abbenante. So pour us up, Arthur. We'll be right back.
It's great too, so we're gonna like this.
I'm really proud of Adrian Peterson. He took the switch out and he, just beat down that team. It was impressive. He hasn't done that in at least a year. He waited and then he took it out. I'm glad he saved it for the grown men this time. Good job. Good job, AP. All day.
And we're here. We're on the Couch Convo panel. We still have our special guest, Arthur Hamilton. And we brought in our political correspondent and also co-creator, the Jew himself, Eric Abbenante. What's up, bro?
The white guy. Hey. As you guys know me.
You know what's up.
Right. How much money you spend this week, Eric?
It's more about how much money did
Zero.
It's more about how much did you save by percentage of your actual wealth, and I did a great job.
So good.
It's calculated.
Arthur, you always have like the dopest shirts, bro.
Thanks, man. You know what I'm saying? My mom actually got this one.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. See, that's one of my favorite shows, Legends of Chamberlain Heights. Y'all definitely go check it out. It's a funny black cartoon on Comedy Central. Go check out the last 2 seasons. I actually met one of the creators, Josiah Johnson. Cool dude. He took me out to lunch and everything. Just dope. And like I support the show because it's hilarious. So if you haven't watched it,
it's funny because my mom she bought me a bunch of shirts and I was like, what the fuck is this, mom? This is like a little kid shirt. She was like, I don't know, just wear it.
You know, black moms get like I paid for it, you wear it, boy.
Just wear it, David. It looks good.
It's a hilarious show, man. Like, it's one of the blackest shows on TV. It's hilarious.
And speaking of which, speaking of a black awesome show that you should support, there's Blunts and Brunch.
Yes.
The thing about his mom is she's really the uncredited stylist of the show.
Right.
She's always styling you, man.
She styles me up. You know what I mean? Shout out to my mama.
On the like one of my favorite characters on Legends of Chamberlain Heights is like the oldest brother who he was supposed to be this huge basketball player. And he got injured and he like smoked a bunch of weeds and now he just like lays on the couch.
Oh shit.
It's hilarious, man. But they throw a lot of political discourse and cool conversations in the show along with the comedy. And one of them is what we're going to talk about today, the decriminalizing of marijuana. They tackle that in the show. And so that's what we're going to be talking about on our Couch Convo today. The criminalization of marijuana and how mass incarceration has been put in as a system to keep that and uphold it. So we're going to talk about it. Thankfully we're not in prison for smoking weed. Thankfully we're out here.
I got arrested for it.
Oh, for real?
That's one of the reasons I had to move back from Arizona.
Shoot, no, for real? What happened?
I got a felony. So I was this is the same night I got the fucking DUI too.
Damn, this was a bad night, dog.
Yeah, it was fucked up. All my friends were fucked up. I had a beer at 9 o'clock. I got pulled over at 3 in the morning. I had like less than half a gram on me.
Yeah.
Like it was like 500 milligrams.
What?
So it was like crumbs. So like I had a piece and I had a grinder. So he pulled me up or whatever, get me out the car. get the weed or whatever, it's a felony. It's a classics felony.
It was in Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona's tough.
So I went to jail that night. Everything, man, ended up. I was working for a bank, so then I went to go get a license for investments.
Yeah.
Because it had been long overdue. Like I was good at my job and everything. I wanted to get paid more.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to apply for that, and they ran my background again. Then boom, it came.
Felony.
And I had to pay all this money too. They were like, they wanted to get money out of me. That's all it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's all the justice system.
It's just like
tickets, parking tickets, everything.
Yeah,
It's
it was
revenue
either
collection.
Yeah, it was either the alcohol or the weed, and so like, I really just like just took the I don't know. I guess I just took the task charge. It was some weird way of doing it. I had to do the drug program and pay all this. Had to pay all this money, all these court fees, and then I had to pay every week.
That happened to me. That happened to me right before I went to college. I got caught with about like less than $1,000 on me one night, and it wasn't enough for them to take me to jail or do anything. They wanted to get money out of me, so I had to pay a couple fines in court.
Yeah,
and that's really all they care. They want money.
Yeah, that shit is crazy, and it's fun. And it's funny too because I really noticed that they just wanted money because they were like, you can still smoke weed while on this.
Yeah, they told me the same thing. They said
you just have to get your medical marijuana license, and in Arizona it's like $300.
They said I had to take a drug test, but they said it's not a big deal if you don't pass it. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's fucking stupid.
They just wanted money, and that's why even like we talked about before, that's why these private prisons are able to do what they're doing because it's cash for profit.
Yep.
Yeah, and that leads me to what I was gonna say is like you guys have these like terrible stories. I'm white, so I have none of these stories.
You smoke more than both of them.
Yeah, I smoke more than like pretty much all the people in jail for marijuana combined. And I smoke so much weed, and it's like for white people, our stories are like, bro, I got like 2 ounces at once. It was sweet.
Yeah.
You know, and we have the opposite stories, and it's because
You got the almost stories. I almost went to jail.
But the cops never like look to us, and they always will give us the benefit of the doubt if they do get us.
Good kid.
Yeah.
You know better. I'm gonna leave this grass with you. You go home, okay?
Right.
And then I would smoke that shit up right there. And my first hit, I'd be like,
maybe driving
fuck
with
cops. Yeah, that would be like, it's just both. The difference between how cops just proportionately treat minorities and also poor people, like the fact that I've always been in decent neighborhoods means that I can avoid a lot of these issues. Yeah. Like when I would buy weed in Utah, which is an illegal state, everyone would know, go to the rich white cities like Sandy, because that's like where all the, that's where all the rich white kids are. But the adjacent city to Sandy was Midvale, which is one of the poorest and one of the most brown places. And if you bought weed, if you drove by Midvale to get to Sandy, you would see like multiple people getting pulled over by cops, probably, for drugs sometimes. And it was definitely like a lot of brown kids. Yeah. And it's like, all you had to do is get past the poor brown area to the rich white area, and then all of a sudden you were free to go. Okay. I would buy weed at the church. Like that was the safe spot to buy weed because the white rich church, no cop will ever go there.
No. That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense because police presence is so heavy in low income minority areas, and that's why police shootings have gotten even bigger on the news and things like that. Because if you're already in this place and you're looking for trouble, you're gonna find it. But it's just as many, and so like it's just as many white people as black and brown people doing drugs, smoking marijuana, but there's more black and brown people in prison for it, though.
But yeah, to get tied back to your point, actually, they say white people do more drugs and they do more illicit drugs, and yet they're in jail so much more proportionally less. And this is where the privatized prisons, this gets really tenuous because you're literally making money off of taking people in jail, taking away their voting rights, and then using them for pretty much slave labor. And which gets me to my point, this is pretty much like, you take away slavery, they do Jim Crow, or sharecropping. Then they take away sharecropping, they do Jim Crow. Right. You take away that, then now we're at the privatized prison era, the drug war era, where it's like, oh, we're going to disproportionately get communities of color, poor people, put them in jail. We'll make money off of their labor.
Nothing.
And not only their labor, but they get paid by the government for like filling these quotas of beds. And that's all they see. For me and you, it's like I see you as Arthur and Niles. For a cop, it's like, filling my quota.
Yeah.
And that's why they treat you like that, and it's really disgusting. And there's also racist stuff behind it.
Yeah.
But like that's part of how they like train themselves to see you, and it's like that's the fucked up part about our criminal system.
Yeah, the documentary that was really good about it, 13th on Netflix by Ava DuVernay, was amazing at breaking it down how, like you said, this is basically the new form of slavery is criminalization of drugs and what they're doing with private prisons because they're for cash profit. Like you said, they have a number they have to hit. I remember the state of Florida a couple months ago was a prison that needed to fill 300 beds. And so they were telling black people, don't even leave your house.
Yeah, don't, because you're going to get pulled over for any little...
Exactly. And so, like, they have, like you said, they have to meet a quota. And so when they, you know, I know people that worked in law enforcement in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they would tell me there were people in the department that literally just pulled black and brown people just to see if they would find something.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to white people. It just doesn't.
And if you look at the statistics, like how does this tie into marijuana? There are over 100,000 people currently in jail for possession of less than an ounce.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And like for instance, that weed right there, that's about a half ounce-ish. Like we're talking, they had at maximum twice as much as this, and they're still in jail. And
still there, yeah.
And 100,000 people, that is 100,000 people times whatever they get from the government in subsidies for filling their quota in beds. And this is where the drug war, you start to understand why it actually is really racist.
Yeah.
You know, and it's almost like you feel like they have this helicopter effect over a neighborhood. They're always constantly watching you, and that's the issue with cops is if you're always in that area, you're gonna find something, especially if you're financially motivated to do so in multiple ways.
Yeah.
This boy's preaching, damn it.
It is. And so, like, out of those hundreds of thousands of people, the majority of them are black and brown.
Yeah.
And that's the problem we're hitting at because now weed has become trendy. We're getting TV shows and documentaries and movies, and states are getting it legalized, and people, the government and different people, rich white people are making money off of marijuana now. So
much money.
How are you making money off of a substance that so many people are still in prison for? That's evil. And it's just like, for every show that gets pitched to TV that has some white person playing with marijuana. There was a whole show called Weeds that was an amazing show. It went on for 7 seasons about a white suburban mom that sells weed.
So weed, yeah.
And so, like, it was a great show, but then as a black person, the only thing I'm thinking about while watching the show is, what about all the people that are in prison while I'm laughing at these jokes about weed on this TV show? It's that real.
Yeah.
Because, there are a couple 100,000 people. Those are a couple 100,000 fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters. Those are real people that have families. I know people that are locked up for a dime bag. It's ridiculous. And so we have to get these politicians to pass laws that, reverse those things, because like I said, I just don't understand how people are making money off something that people are still locked up for. How are we a United States if that's the case?
And how are there 100,000 people still in jail? A lot of those people are in states that are currently saying that weed is now either medical or recreational. Why aren't those people in jail pardoned as soon as that laws happen? But you're saying essentially they're grandfathered into jail? That seems like a really weird technicality. Seems very brutal, cruel, and unusual by, our words in the Constitution. And so it's bizarre.
Just think about all the people who are felons. They can't vote. So shouldn't they get their voting rights reenacted? Because it's like, okay, you locked us up and said this thing was so bad, but now all of a sudden it's good, it's okay, and now you're making money off of it. Because there's a thing, there's other crimes. This would never happen with murder, it would never happen with rape, it would never happen with any crime. This is the only one this is happening because it's not a drug, it's not anything evil or immoral or anything like that. It's a plant from the ground that, when used properly, can get you high or even work in healing. And so you have all these people that said that a long time ago. There's marijuana activists that are in prison.
There was proof of it, and they got rid of it.
Exactly.
And they put out a study saying that marijuana kills brain cells, and the way that they tested it was by putting like gas masks on monkeys.
Wow.
And pumping them with the equivalent of 100 joints in like an hour, I think.
Right. That's
and
ridiculous.
they died because their lack of oxygen.
Wow.
So it's like when people tell me, "Oh, wait, weed kills brain cells," I'm like, "Shut the fuck up."
Well, actually,
shut up, you monkey.
There's a weird history of how this all started. there was a newspaper tycoon back in like the early 1900s, and I believe his name was like William Randolph Hearst, and so he had a lot of money invested in paper, and there was a competing venture, this new thing called hemp. You can grow hemp. I can tell you as a person who's grown weed before, it harvests every 3 to 4 months, which is really unusual for a plant. It grows really large, so like the potential for it to be used for a lot of things like rope, and I've heard it can be used as cement. Like there's so many random things you wouldn't even think of it can be used for, like infrastructure things. And so William Randolph Hearst, who was the tycoon of this newspaper industry, who had money invested in paper as the foundation of this country, he used his newspapers to publish stories about Mexicans and Negroes. That was the word he used to that they raped white women when they were on this substance, and they got wild.
And they would have white women listening to their funky jazz music and
it's
stuff.
It's crazy how history repeats itself, because that's exactly the kind of things Donald Trump was saying to give precedence to building the wall. Mexicans are bringing rapists and all their thugs and all this kind of stuff. It's just like racism. It's like the same.
Was that the guy? Did that guy also have something to do with Reefer Madness?
I think that was later, but that's where I was about to touch on this point. This is where the Reefer Madness thing builds from, because it's like it literally gets you mad and rapes white women.
You touch white women,
and that's usually, as you well know, it's like that's like one of the touch points emotionally that they always use to get after the public, especially back in those days. Is like, oh my God, they're gonna come after your white women. You know, and it's like
prized possession.
Yeah, it's just insidious. But that ties into what we were touching on earlier. All these people who are in jail for marijuana, they have their voting rights taken away, which is kind of a way of targeting a certain group who they know that they vote a certain way. You can see the monologue in the beginning and see what we're referencing. They know that black people are a monolith. They vote a very certain way. And, you know, if they all vote Democrat and you're a Republican and you want to take down Democratic voters, this is a way you do it. And, you know, Reagan was really the heart of this. So
exactly. Look who supports private prisons and criminalizing marijuana. Republicans. Hard right bleeding Republicans. Marco Rubio, I read about how he was funded like by a couple $100,000 from a corporation that runs a private prison. That's why I was telling people not to vote for him, because he was going to keep these things going. And so you see, it's like a crazy lunatic way of taking away voting rights from black and brown or poor people in general, and because they know who they vote for, and it's awful. But the state of Florida was a state Hillary Clinton could have won, but it was like 300,000 felons in Florida, and like a couple hundred of those were black men, and so it was a lot of votes that she could have got in Florida. But this criminalization,
and the same thing with Gore before her. Gore also famously lost Florida, and the exact same thing happened to him, and it was much closer. It was hundreds of votes, maybe thousands of tops. Like that's all he needed. He was even closer than Hillary taking the whole thing and erasing George Bush, and so you could literally say that taking away the voting rights of black men has caused us to have George W. Bush and Donald Trump instead of Al Gore and Hillary Clinton. And so that's a price white people have to pay. You put black people in jail, they're your best ally. They are the ones, like I always said in my stand-up, Jews and black people are like the canaries in the coal mine of oppression. They're usually the first ones to get hit. So once you know they get hit, everyone else will get hit. And so those are your best allies, the people who always are, you know, the subject of discrimination. And then when those people get hit and you don't do anything, guess what's going to happen? You're going to live in a country like where you live with Trump and live with George W. Bush.
Man, that's good. I don't even know where to go after that. That was great.
Oh, thank you.
That was amazing. Hey, he knows his weed. He knows his white presidents. He knows his history.
And by the way, we've been drinking Can-Aid out of this orange juice, and I can tell you right now, it's amazing.
It makes you feel really relaxed.
I feel great. Like I'm really angry about white supremacy, but you can't even see it on my face.
This is how good weed is, even as we're talking about the injustices of people who are on weed. the THC just calms us down.
Mary Jane is just telling us, hey baby, it's alright, baby. Just relax. I'm right here with you. You want something to eat? You want to watch a show?
And why should people go to jail for that?
Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, man.
So that's why Secret Black People Meeting is calling on our congressmen, our senators, all these kind of things to start passing bills and laws that can reverse these charges to get our people out of prison
and make it
fucking people up.
And make it recreational. Don't make it medical because there's so many weird loopholes with medical. Like for instance, let's say we shared this weed together. In a medical state, it's like sharing a prescription.
Yeah.
Oh no! Yeah. And what if your prescription crosses with my prescription? Oh no, you might but that doesn't happen with weed. So it doesn't make sense to compare it to pills.
Yeah.
And so why are we doing this medical thing where it's like it is a medical thing, but it should also be recreational because that's a step beyond medical. Yeah. It's not just medical.
It's not scientifically.
It's something you can share with friends. It's safe. No one's ever overdosed on it ever. Right. I am trying. I'm trying every day to be the first one to overdose on weed, and it's never going to happen. Dreams do not come true, and that's how good weed is. My favorite dream will never come true, and I'll be so high, I won't give a fuck.
He's trying.
He tried.
We're going to keep an eye on him.
This guy tried to OD on weed and couldn't.
Every day. Every day.
Right. So you take 12 Tylenols. As Cat Williams says, that'll be your last headache.
Your last headache. Your last headache.
Shout out to Cat Williams again. What a callback.
Once again, yeah. Man.
Hey, but that has been great. This has been such a great episode. We had our new Channel 310 star,
Bam.
Arthur Hamilton.
I don't know why I keep doing this.
Right,
this
is
is
weird.
corny.
Stop, don't do it.
It's
you might not get an episode 2 doing stuff.
That's why I'm doing it.
Check out his show, Once in Brunch, now on Channel 310. Only on Channel
Check it out, y'all. Shit's funny as fuck,
super
man.
funny.
It's been a lot of fun every week, man. We're going to be
every weekend. We're
smoking it up.
Having brunch with Arthur. And then, thank you so much to our political correspondent.
I'm going to do the Arthur Hamilton.
There you go.
Yeah, it looks better when they're
It looks way better.
That's the only time I've ever
Because
told
it's a corny white guy doing corny white guy things.
Right.
I look like an Uncle Tom.
Straight up. Eric Abbenante, producer, writer, co-creator on Secret Black People Meeting. He makes this show run, and he's also our political correspondent when we're talking politics.
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, hey, we got you, bro. Broke it down specifically. He's trying to OD on weed. I don't know what that means. I'm going to stay away from Eric for a couple days. But hey, this has been Secret Black People Meeting. Go Dodgers. Let's win that World Series. Y'all have a good night. See you next week.